Hi snooker fans, it's Dafasnooker.com. I'm with my colourful character, my good pal, the albino himself, Allan Taylor. Just did a pre-season catch-up, see how he's been. He's had a few months off since the World Championships. So just say, what's happening, my man? How are you?
Very good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I mean, last time I saw you, you were playing Steve Maguire in the Worlds. Match didn't go your way, but you didn't play too bad in that match.
Yeah, I had spells, mate. I had spells.
How you been since then, pal? What's been happening?
Yeah, good. I had a little bit of time off, not too much. But I learned a lot from that game, to be honest, with Maguire. Should have gone 3-0, potentially could have been 4, blah, 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 hindsight and all that business. But watched the game back and learned a lot from it. So just been working on them few things in the off-season. Casually, as you do, you gotta recoup, refresh the mind and all that. And there's no way you're going back to the drawing board. It's just always trying to push forward. So I'm very aware of what I need to do and what approach I need to take to move forward. So I'm more than willing to do that. And in the off season, that's why I say it was casual really with putting the cue down, because I love playing anyway. Yeah. Just can't stop. I'm very lucky, the piece we done a while back, that the club's across the street from where I live.
Yeah, absolutely.
At any minute that you sit there twiddling your thumbs, you're thinking, well, there's a reason, because you want something. You pick your cue up and went to the club and had a knock, and that leads into proper practice, and then you end up taking a couple of more days off than you normally would. But apart from that, mate, I've been casually practicing until the last few weeks, and then obviously then push it forward.
Obviously stepped it up. So who you've been practicing with, pal? What you doing? You've got a solo. You've been playing a lot of players.
Yeah, no, solo. I had a game with Bingham last week. That was nice, just to keep sharp. You know what I mean? Just before the season, just to test yourself, because you haven't seen a sort of a match table or match scenario for a month or two. Yeah. But I've actually been doing a bit of coaching abroad. Cool. Working out with the Austrian snooker team in Vienna. Yeah. And just recently come back from Milan with the Italian snooker association. They had the national championships. Yeah. So they called me out there and basically just giving some advice and showing them what it takes to become a professional, really, how many hours you need to put in, and just giving them some hard graft, you know what I mean? Yeah, because they've never had a professional player over there before.
No, just about to touch on that with you. Like, what was the talent like over there? Like, and when I mean talent, I don't mean young ladies. I mean talent on the table.
I'm a taken man. No, I mean, it's hard because the best players probably making 80 in practice. Do you know what I mean? If someone makes a 40 in a tournament, it's in the newspapers type of thing. It's not great standard. There's 3 categories, and I think last year the highest break in the whole tournament was a 70 plus, and that was a one-off. Yeah. So I think they're very sparse with the snooker tournaments and the snooker tables that are available over there. I met a gentleman there called Maurizio Cavalli, who's the Italian Eurosport commentator. Cool. Okay. And he was basically telling me that over there they've got pool and Italian 5-pin pool, like billiards. With no pockets. Yeah. So he said someone puts a snooker table in a club, it takes double the amount of space, it takes twice as long to play the game, and people just get fed up. So if anything I can do to try and improve that side of the game for them, then I'm willing to do so. But for me, it was a nice change. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nice and fresh during the off season. So I'm not just going through the mundane practice, get up, do your practice, do your break. It was nice to actually get on a plane with your cue and feel like you're going to work again. Just to kickstart me into the season. So, and of course, I'm playing all day and night anyway, so I'm constantly in tune. You know what I mean? But it was a good task for me to go out there and still focus on myself. You know what I mean? You're more than willing to help people, but at the same time, you've still got to keep that distance. Of course you have to, yeah. And when I had a little bit of downtime, I found myself wanting to practice on my own, just to get myself, making sure that what I was giving them advice, I was basically doing myself. People say back to basics, and they're the easiest things you can forget. So it was good for me to get out and about, and then obviously the travel up to Preston is a frequent one of the years, and I've done well here, so I was looking forward to coming here and we'll see how the tournaments go this week.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. I mean, this has been quite a good venue for you. I mean, last year you started off really well, didn't you? Start the season here. Kick off against Luca Bracel tomorrow. Thoughts on that match, pal?
Really looking forward to it, mate. I am, yeah. Best of 7 as well. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying. I took a different approach this season where I think I was putting a lot of expectation on my shoulders, which turned into man-made pressure, really. To perform, for my own standards, to try and reward myself for all the hard practice that I put in. You're trying to come away with victories and confidence, and you try and fish in it from here, there and everywhere. And then you look at the draw and everyone goes, oh, that's not easy. I'm like, well, they're never easy games. No. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Correct. But there's only 128 in the entire globe, and I've got the privilege to have earned my own spot and keep it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone's a hard game, as I'm a hard game for people. Yeah. So I've just got to put the work in and just believe, really. And then when I go out there, just start to enjoy it. Because, time passes so quick. I mean, this will be my 6th season as a professional. Wow. I've retained my tour card twice via PTCs and Q School, which was documented. But it doesn't feel like I've stopped, and before you know it, you think that's 5 years past, 5 seasons gone, and and nowhere near achieving what I've set out to achieve when I was a kid. Yeah. You still got them dreams, but you still want to be winning tournaments, going to the deep end of tournaments, earning a good living. You want to buy a nice house, buy a house car. You know what I mean? You want to take the missus away. You want to buy nice things. Yeah. Everybody wants all of this stuff, and I think the one can be it can be too great sometimes, that it sort of distracts you away from your actual job. So for me, it's just to focus on myself, mate. Enjoy my snooker, work hard and smart, and what will be, but with a little bit of I want it as well. Do you know what I mean? a little bit of that.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we spoke about it before off camera about how much players want it and stuff like that. And it's a massive part, obviously, progression. Because at the end of the day, there's too many players I think out there who don't actually put in enough work, want it enough out there. And you look at the top players, how hard they work. They're not there by accident. They work their absolutes off to get to where they are. Do you know what I mean? I think that work effort is lost in a lot of young players. It's not great to see, No,
I mean that's the thing. If you have the argument of who's the greatest, and then you look at how many hours they put in consistently, and not just I was in the club for 12 hours. I was around and about a snooker table. I was watching. I was this, physical, proper practice, quality, as well as quantity. And obviously me practicing with the Austrian under-21s before they've gone to China for their tournaments, going out to Italy. The first question is how many hours a day do you practice? And I have to break it down to them that it's not just pick your cue up and play. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be practicing something, and if you can slowly but surely work towards your goals out the match arena, practice table it's the biggest key. It's the biggest key because it's where you learn your biggest failures, where you get your mistakes and you can correct them instantly. So for me, it's all about awareness, really. What you do in a match arena, and then coming away and assessing that, and working out, was that good, bad? It's like business is a business. Stop, start, continue meetings. Do you know what I mean? What's working, what isn't? What should we change? What should we keep? What should we throw out? And what, you know what I mean? Yeah, everything else, you just chuck it in the air and see where it lands. But the practice side of things, like you say, the top players, they're not there by fluke. No. And everyone talks about Ronnie O'Sullivan, how he hits the ball consistently. It's because he practices consistently. There's no way in this world that you can time the ball that well for that many decades by just picking your cube every now and again.
Just the 5 tournaments in it last year. Just the 5.
This is it.
It's about a big second season for you. Obviously, no issue, like you said, your 6th season, but second season of this fresh new tour card, mate. Quite a gap between you and the 64, so a lot of matches needed to be won, a lot of prize money need to be won, which you're definitely capable of doing. Yeah. Are you looking at it more of the realistically of the one year list, or are you looking to really push into the 64? What are your goals this season?
Goals are try and get in the 64 as quick as I can. Yeah. It's as simple as that. I'm not shying away from what I have to do. Yeah. It's like aim for the stars. You reach the sky anyway. You know what I mean? So if I stretch my targets and I fall short, well, then you've also got a safety net of the 1 year list. Everyone knows that, but it's not what I'm aiming for. No. I want to get in the 64. I want to cement my place on the circuit. And not have to worry about all results at the end of the year. there's a few big tournaments I haven't won a match in yet, UK and World Championships, and in 5 seasons. And you can say the longer format matches, and again, why am I losing them games? Is it concentration over long distance? How do you build that up? And that's down to me to go away and work out. Yeah. But I know I'm on the right path, so I know once I go back out there and I'm still learning about myself and about the game, and I'm not shy of learning, that when I go out there, you know, that I've got every chance of achieving my targets. So for me, is just to focus on myself, win as many games as I can, and see where that takes me. You know, I've got a lot of aspirations in the game, but I've actually got a clear way of achieving them now. Yeah. Whereas I used to be, wow, winning the tournaments all the way up there. How do I get there? Do you know what I mean? And I think watching the game a lot more last year, seeing new winners of tournaments, old winners of tournaments, even the World Final's been talked about. You know, Williams and Higgins, and you're looking, and if you've got the ability to delve into why there's fresh faces and why the old faces are still there, you know, and it's a good way to bridge the gap, you know, where you can come and just treat it as another day's work, rather than I must win this match, I must do this, I must do that, and you just caking pressure on yourself all the time. So for me, it's just to believe I can win, enjoy what I'm doing, and then if the victories come, that will obviously contain ranking points, confidence, prize money, and all the bits and bobs that come with it. So, there's a mirror. It's all
about you.
Yeah, well, it always is, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's nothing new there, isn't there? Nothing new there. Now I'm going to ask you for an impression at the end of the interview in a couple of minutes' time, but I'm going to focus on something else for a minute. Just touch on the new winners, as you said, and I remember having a conversation, I think it was with John Higgins at the end of last season, talking about how many new winners there are of tournaments these days, and he made a good point. He said, you know what? He said, not so much as new winners, he said, there's so many tournaments now, with so many people working hard, and so many players like working their nuts off in practice. It's sort of a law of averages sort of thing, isn't it? Like sooner or later you're going to play well, going to go deep in a tournament sooner or later, do you know what I mean? With so many events. So I think like when people look at players, how did he win an event, it's not that case anymore. Because it's not like there's only 5-6 tournaments. We're talking about 19 to 20 tournaments a season now. Yeah. So if you're working hard and doing the right things consistently, you're going to knock down the door at some point, aren't you?
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of players have in their mind, because they look at certain winners and think, well, do you know what? I could have won that tournament. Yeah. And it gives you a lot of belief when you see lesser players, probably the wrong term, but players who are not so expected to win tournaments, winning tournaments, you know?
The lesser favourites in the bookies' eyes, I'd say. Yeah. You know, and you can only look at the World Championships because there's a lot of people who still only watch the BBC events, and they're just like, oh, when's the next tournament? Oh, it's the World Championships. You're like, hang on, mate, I've got 6 tournaments before that one. Do you know what I mean? And they're still blinking to the fact that there's more out there, you know, amount of tournaments out in China, you know, and you can only see these Chinese boys coming over and working so hard in the academies that, you know, like Bing Tao, great example. Last season, debut the World Championships, lost to Murphy, was it 10-9 maybe? Next day, bang, on practice table, because it's a way of life. Do you know what I mean? And you can look at this year of World Championships at the debutants. You've got Wakeling, you've got Highfield, you've got all these players who people would say, it wouldn't be a shock for us to see them play there, but at the same time there's a little bit of needle saying, why aren't I there? You know what I mean? And that's no disrespect to anybody else, it's just your own belief that if you can do it, I can do it. It's as simple as that. And it's almost like the game has changed a lot with the amount of tournaments. Everyone's in good stroke, everyone's practicing hard, everyone's travelling the same distances, so it's not like an advantage or disadvantage, you know, up and down the ranking. We all come here for one round, we all fly out to the venue, and then we all play for the couple of days of the tournament, so we've all got the same opportunities. Absolutely. And that's obviously down to Barry. And what he did do is he dangled the carrot in the sense that if you're willing to put the work in, I'm willing to give you the rewards.
Yeah, the rewards are definitely enough.
You know, and I think there's a lot of people realising that there's tournaments passing you by without you nicking a few quid or you know, without you gaining ranking spots up and down the list, that people are like, hang on a minute, if I can just work out why or practice hard, or you know, there's a lot of things to be said for the older players. Yeah, you know, absolutely. The older generation, that like, are they still putting the same amount of hours in as they used to? Who knows? Because we're all behind closed doors when we're doing solo. Do you know what I mean? So you know, it's it's opportunity if you want it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that, like you said, with the new winners and the debutants at venues and the World Championships is a massive thing to get to the Crucible. 3 best of 19s now. I don't think it's as draining. I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't experienced it yet. You know, the facts are on the table, but to win 30 frames to get to the Crucible, there ain't no great shakes these days because we're practicing 14 days a week. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like momentum. It's just going with the flow. I'm going to work, pick my cue up on a play, someone taps me on the shoulder, your job's finished, next game. And you know, that's where like these best of 7s, to come back to like obviously my game with Luca tomorrow, it's the short formats, but you know, it's just another game of snooker. And we're programmed to pick your cue up at the start, shake hands and shake hands at the end, and that's it. You know what I mean? And there's something inside you that just keeps going, and you know, and it can be concentration based that keeps these top players there, just purely because of experience. Yeah, of course. So you know, if you can try and nick a bit of that, you know, and almost learn from other people's mistakes as well. It's a big key, man. It's a big key.
I think a lot of the shocks, especially in the first round of the Worlds, now come because they're qualifying so close to the Worlds. The reason why people are leaving the EIS having 3 best of 19s under the belt, they raise a sharp turn up at the Crucible, where the top 16 have not played since China. And I think, because I remember talking to a few players about this before, and they said, "Why is there so many shocks in the first round?" And they're not shocks anymore. They're not shocks anymore. They're not shocks. The standard's so high on the tour now. Literally, someone ranked 100 in the world can beat someone in the top 16. It happens every single season, and it's no different now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and you look at, like, people always say about it's not ranking us, it's on the day. You know what I mean? And that day, somebody ranked 200 in the world could beat the world number 1 just because he's played 3 different shots in the match. Yeah. He doesn't realise it. No. But it's just the way the balls went, and that's as simple as that. Do you know what I mean? And I think the more that the lower ranked players see the fresh faces on the telly, hang on a minute, what's happening here? It
spurs you on.
It does spur you on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think people can get torn up between comparing themselves to other players. If he's doing it, why aren't I? What's he doing differently than I'm not? Go away. Do you know what I mean? It's all about you at the end of the day. You know, you can get all the advice in the world, but you walk out there and you whistle and you get your cue out of the box, and it's down to you to put that ball in the hole.
That's it, mate. You've got to tune into yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Right, Al, before we wrap up things, like I said, you're great at your impressions. Your Graham Duck one's one of my personal favourites. Have you got any impressions to do for our loving fans out there, mate? Go on, give us an impression before we wrap things up, mate. What are you going to do for me today?
Well, since you love Graham Duck, I might as well do him now. See, obviously the World Championship is a few months ago there. I have good memories when I won the World Championship. Absolutely brilliant. See, but like today, you know, I play at best of 7s, there's no interval, so if it goes 2-2, you just have to take a long loo break.
Absolute brilliant, mate. Absolute brilliant, bro. Right, Al, look, listen, I know you've got to practice shortly, so I'm going to let you go and hit some balls. Obviously, you've got, like I said, Luca tomorrow, pal. We want to wish you the very best for that match.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, pal.
Isn't it? It is, isn't it?
It certainly is, mate.
Is it though?
Yeah, it really is. That's not just for the camera, really. It's a pleasure talking to you. But all of us at Dafasnooker.com, we wish you the best for the coming season, pal.
Thanks, mate. And obviously, I wish Dafasnooker all the best as well. I think you're doing a good thing. And, you know, there's a lot of people praise you for what you do. You relate to the boys because, you know, you're on our level, if you know, and you've been around the game. So I think that's opened a lot of people's eyes to behind the scenes as well. And it's an education. It's not just turn the telly on, watch snooker, turn it off. People are seeing characters, people are seeing personalities. Yeah. And I think that's good for the game as well.
Cheers, much appreciated, pal.
All right.
Cheers, mate.